Hello and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Thank you very much for joining me in today's video. And in today's video, I'm not flying the BAE 146-200, though I will be flying that again in the future, but instead I am flying the Beechcraft Bonanza G36 by Black Square, the analog steam gauge overhaul. The point of today's video is to address a problem that I had in the last video. Now in the last video my problem was when I was flying the BAE 146 and I came in for a landing, I could not coordinate my rudders and ailerons properly because I'm not used to my new setup with actual rudder pedals and a much smoother flight stick, and as such I almost went careening off the runway. I want to try and fix that by using today's video to improve on my coordination, to try and get something a little bit better out of all of this. So, what is the plan? We are currently at Echo Golf Bravo Papa Kemble Airport, and my goal is just going to be to merely fly the circuit over the railway all the way around and just do maybe a couple of overflies, and then, or one overfly, a wing low approach and a crab approach, and see just how well I can do with all of that. Everything is set up in the aircraft pretty much. I've just let Flight Simulator do its thing instead of me starting it up myself, and I'm going to see exactly how this works. There is a stiff crosswind of 15 knots, which you can just see if you look at the windsock in the distance. So that is going to be hopefully my challenge. It does mean that I'm probably on takeoff and landing going to be about 10 degrees, probably pushing 10 degrees into the wind. Not entirely sure, I'm just going to be guessing this. Going to climb about 1,000, just over 1,000 feet above the aerodrome, so looking at 1,500 feet I think would be reasonable. Do a couple of circuits as I said and just see what I can do, so make sure you stay tuned. Let's get started, and I know for a fact that the first takeoff is going to be really quite bad. Right, so just to give myself an idea as to where I need to actually fly, I'm just going to move the heading bug so that it is at 160. That will give me my crosswind and downwind. I will go ahead and bump up the throttles just a little. There we go. Okay, I'm probably going to leave Navigraph up. Maybe zoom in a little so that... No, I'll zoom out. There's no point being that close in. I've got to zoom in a little and see what I can do. I'm not going to worry about transponders or anything like that today. It is not necessary. So the first thing I need to do is ailerons fully in. I know that. I'm going to start throttling up and moving the rudder to match, and as I pick up speed, ailerons out. There we go, up we go. Good, gear up. That wasn't too bad. I'm actually going to slow down quite quickly as well. I'm not intending on oops, I need to, can I not raise that higher for some reason? Oh dear. So my intent is not to accelerate too fast and not to accelerate too far either. It's really a matter of getting myself... Why can I not move this any higher? Am I stuck somewhere? Not a clue. So at this sort of speed I appear to be alright, and I'm just going to turn the aircraft as I start leveling myself to 1,500 feet, which appears to have gone rather well. Although the turn has not been great, I think I've overshot the runway. The runway? The railway. But as I said, this is just for me to start getting a fair amount of practice on this. And it depends on how much I can really do. So I am going to pull back the throttles quite a bit. And just turn in immediately once again. Now with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 coming out pretty soon, it is going to be quite interesting to see what comes of it. There's the airfield. Good. Now, if the wind is blowing across this way and I'm doing about 100 knots, what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to put in a correction and fly approximately, I think 255 will do. There we go. That should give me the correct angle for flying, I'm hoping, at this sort of speed. Is that traffic? It isn't exactly smooth sailing. Weather's certainly far better than presently in the real world, though. This area is probably all flooded, actually, at this moment in time, or certainly waterlogged at the very least. Right, I'm going to now immediately bring myself down for a descent as I turn myself in, and I'm really going to start trying to focus on getting myself lined up with the runway. I'm not going to be landing at this juncture, so slow down, really going to slow down. I know it's going to complain about this. I suppose I do need to bring my landing gear down. Just line myself up with the runway. There it is. Okay, so overshot on the first approach, which is fine. I'll bring one stage of flaps, and let's see if I can realign myself here. So 90 knots is what I want, approximately. So I want to see what this feels like as I bring myself in, and let's go ahead and balance about here. We're about 300 foot over the runway, and it appears that the way I'm going to have to do this, so I will wing in like that, see if I can keep myself over the runway at this angle using the rudder. It appears to be doable. There we go. I am flying the centre line of the runway. If I do pause it right here, I do wonder what it would look like outside, apart from being woefully noisy. Okay, not quite on the centre line, I am slightly off. Not by much though. Not by much. The angle is not too severe, but it is there, it's clearly there. And that is giving me roughly the straight. That's giving me roughly the straight straight down the runway. So let's climb out again. And just give ourselves a bit of a climb. What I think I need to do is maybe make this turn a little bit earlier. Perhaps now. There we are. Appears to have done this correctly this time around. Bit of snow on the ground apparently. I'm not sure that there certainly isn't snow in the real world. That much is for certain. Is that the railway? That must be the railway. Nose up, come on. Focus on the flying. Come on, focus on the flying. There we are. Starting to get a little better at the circuit. Trying to feel the wind out here. So I'm going to try that again, but perhaps from a slight greater distance so that I have myself lined up for a longer period of time. Now I can feel that the wind is certainly pushing the aircraft. I am not travelling in the direction, I'm not travelling in that direction, I'm travelling more in that sort of direction at present. Which is fine. Not a problem. I'm also a little bit concerned that it might be the wind might be a little stronger than I want it to be. It was a real faff to try and get Microsoft Flight Simulator to actually give me the correct wind direction. For some reason it just flat out refused to do so. So I'll put the gear down again, let it slow down to 90 and go back for that descent. One stage of flaps. Trying to do a gentle turn. There's the runway. There's the 90. That is what I wanted. Now for this I could indeed land the aircraft at this during this one, but not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try. So the wing is, so that is, we are now into the wind, so I'm going to just try and crab all the way down the runway. Try and stay on the centre line. There we are. That isn't looking too bad. Using the ailerons to give me my deflection. Making sure that making sure the aircraft is flying in the direction I want it to fly. As opposed to the nose, I'm not really concerned too much about where the nose is at present. That isn't my concern. Drifted ever so slightly. Right, up we go again. Excellent. Getting there, getting a little better. So far not had to use the rudder, apart from on takeoff. So this time around what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and follow the centre line of the runway, but with the rudder, making sure that I can aim the aircraft so that it appears straight on the runway. That is what I'm going to attempt to do this time around. So effectively I'm going to crab close to the runway. Should I crab close to the runway? No, I'm just thinking.
Papa, traffic Cessna Golf, Kilo November Uniform Whiskey 1 mile south, 600 feet inbound to land runway 08.
Alright. I guess there's another aircraft in to land. Might need to be aware of that. So again, just keeping an eye on my travel direction. I'm actually keeping my altitude pretty low. Now I'm too far over. I need to be roughly facing, I think let's see, that's 260, 255, there, about there is where I need to be facing. That should keep me fairly straight in that direction. So that should keep me heading in that direction, the direction I'm actually looking, as opposed to that direction. At this sort of speed anyway. Keeping an eye out for that aircraft. It said 6 miles. Do not see it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extend my downwind leg just a touch, just by, let's see, those buildings just there. So I'll just come up to those buildings and then see what I've got. So as we approach those, there they are. I'll turn in now. And let that turn in actually slow me down a little. And do more of a lazy turn in. There's the airfield again. Let's do the descent. Really come down on the power, gear, and I suppose flaps as well. And this time, as I said, I'm going to try to not only stay on the center line as I currently am, but I'm going to make an attempt to use the rudder. So let's level ourselves out now. So I'm going to try and use the rudder to force the aircraft, there we go, to try to, just a bit more rudder, straighten the nose, there we are, too much, that seems just about right. So I'm flying straight down the runway, but as you can see my wing is currently down. I need to take out a little bit of rudder there. I was just drifting ever so slightly. I'm not on the center line, but at the moment that is not what I'm trying to do. And back up we go. So let the rudder kick in again, and up we go. Gear. This isn't going too badly. overall. I'm actually starting to get the hang of this. May need to change my fuel tank at some point. Shouldn't be too bad though. Let's go ahead and do the turn. Also quite surprised how I'm able to manage now, after a couple of attempts, roughly get the turn in the right spot every time. Which is also a little telling of experience and starting to get a little bit more experience in these things. Turn in again. Pretty soon I probably won't even need Navigraph to tell me where my circuit is. Just look at where the tree lines are. That should be enough. I rolled out a couple of degrees further than I needed to, so I wanted 260, that's what I need, but due to the wind I really should be, as I mentioned before, about 5-6 degrees off that at this sort of speed, maybe 254, something like that should give me what I want. Okay, so this time around I'm going to try and attempt that wing low method that I used over the runway all the way in, and actually try to land the aircraft. Or should I crab it and then do the wing low? Let's crab it. Let's crab the aircraft. So that is where the aircraft is effectively skidding sideways. Let's do that and then make the wing low adjustment. There's the runway. 110 knots. Holding steady at approximately 1,000 feet. Where are those buildings? There they are. That seemed like a reasonable spot to turn in for me, so I'm going to do the exact same thing again. And slow the aircraft down and go into a descent all at the same time. There's the runway. Gear. Slow it right down. Flaps. Now, because of the crosswind, I really do not want to be landing at a very slow speed. There's an aircraft that's going to go onto the runway, isn't there? There is. Hopefully that one does just take off. Okay, so here we go. I am at 90. I'm fairly low. That's all right though. I'm now going to see if I can, at 80, let's see if we can line up with the runway. Rudder in. Come on, rudder in. Wing down, rudder out a little. Ailerons into the wind. That was not too bad. That was not too bad overall at all, and I'm just going to pick up again. Aileron slowly coming out of the wind, and up we go. Okay, I'm starting to get used to this. Definitely starting to get used to this. Just I'm just a little bit confused as to why I cannot... You know what, if I just zoom out a little bit more, maybe that would just be easier. Yeah, just slightly curious as to why I'm unable to... why I'm unable to look or move my camera further up. Turn back in. It's always just over this house and that field edge. That's where I'm doing my turn. Roll out. Don't know where that Cessna's gone off to, but I'm not really all too fussed about that Cessna. I'm going to try and keep this one around 100 knots. Even though obviously ground speed here is probably only about 85 because of the wind. So the 15-knot crosswind component added to my indicated airspeed. So if I'm doing 100 and I have a crosswind component of 15 knots headwind, in this case it'd be a headwind, that means it's take away the 15. Oh, I'm a little bit higher up than I should be this time. And that gives you 85. About there. Where I need to be. Oh, this time the wind is trying to push me up. Slow it right down. Most likely because of the fact that I'm travelling faster than I was before by about 15 knots, so that the trim settings is pushing me higher up. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to... There we go, we are descending once again. I'm going to see if I can... let's see, those buildings, go across those. I'm going to see if I can go a little bit further out. Possibly over to Lark Hill. That's Lark Hill, just there. That little hill in front of me. Well, just there. Not really right in front of me, but nearby. And then we've got the main road. A42... Is it A429? Oh, I don't know which road it is. It's the old Roman road, which Kemble Aerodrome cuts right through. So what I should do is turn in about here. So it's a much later turn in. Still going to slow the aircraft down and lift the nose up because it is quite a steep turn that we're in. Oops, come on. There we go. So I think the problem that I am having is the fact that my aircraft is my controls are just a little too stiff. I think that is what it is, because that slight movement on the rudder, you saw what impact it had on my flying just there. And I know my descent profile there was horrendous, but it's alright. Okay, so let's try and wing low from here. So I'm going to... I've already got my rudder in, and the rudder, I've got the aircraft pointing towards the centre of... parallel to the runway. So all I now need to do is ensure that I have enough aileron, as we go over the trees, I have enough aileron to compensate for this. Come on, there we go. I'm not lined up here. It's a long enough runway though. They land jumbo jets here. There we are. That is much better. not go careening off the runway. That's what we want to avoid. So I still have that slight issue of I tend to sort of careen off the runway a little, which is no good. That was also a poor takeoff, but that was just because I didn't let my aircraft straighten up as I did that. This is fine, this is all good practice. Try and keep the speed lower this time as I climb. Here comes that field with the railway line. Let's turn in. Bit of a sharp rollout, faster than I wanted it to be, but not too bad. Keeping the speed under control. I'll probably turn in again. It's the rudder movement that's a problem. I think my rudders are too stiff. That is what I think is the problem. Right, we've got ourselves up to the altitude I want to be. There we go. So we'll try this now without Navigraph. No need for that. Just nose down just a touch and slow down the aircraft a little bit faster than I want to be. Once again, looking for the buildings. I see them. Looking at the airport. So I think what I will do is possibly, if I can hold this altitude, go over the tree line just here towards Lark Hill. Let's go over this area and then turn in. That might be better. I'm getting pushed around just a little, which is not ideal. It's adding a touch of rudder in. So normally I would have turned in by now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, because this is going to have to be one constant turn at this point. Here we go. This will be a continuous turn all the way around, and that is because of the fact that I got pushed around a little and I did not compensate for that. Slow ourselves down. So this is going to be an interesting turn. See, there's the look at where the runway is compared to this approach. This is a bad approach. I can still make it work, but this is a bad approach. Although this does demonstrate quite well, it's very clear now which direction I'm travelling in. So that is a really good demonstration there. There we are. Slow it right down. Okay, and try again. So, rudder. Stop kicking the rudder to line up the aircraft. Same buffeting over the hill. Wings in. Wing into the wind. It's a little bit too much. That looks that looks about right. In fact, that was almost, I would say, almost perfect. And then wings completely in, rudder along, and do you know what? I think that I'm going to call, for this video anyway, just for the video, I'm going to call that a success. So that's 4 crosswind, was that 4 crosswind approaches that I managed, or was it 5? A number of crosswind approaches with varying amounts of success. In fact, success was actually quite good. Can I turn this? Yes, I can. Varying amounts of success, and overall quite positive. Future me here. Now, I have added this particular clip into this video because I thought that this was probably the best, I say circuit, specifically this was the best approach and landing that I had done, but it was not captured in the video. The reason for this is that after I had finished recording, I needed to do a couple of circuits in order to get some screenshots, some of which I could potentially use for thumbnails. And as such, on the second circuit that I did, where I actually happened to not get any screenshots because the thumbnail was me floating over on the first circuit, I managed to get this approach, or fly this approach. And as you can see, the first thing that you will note is, compared to the previous one that you've just seen in the video, I do not have to do the dogleg approach because I ensured that I was flying in the right direction earlier on the downwind leg with the wind correction, so that as I came around for the turn onto base and final, I was not overshooting the runway or the extended centre line. So I've got myself onto the extended centre line quite nicely here, slowed myself down to 80 knots, gear is down, flaps are out, and I am also descending well within the glide path. As you can see, there is the one white, the one red. Not sure why this airfield does not have 2 whites, 2 reds for puppy indicators, but there we go, just some glide slope indicator. So a very stable approach. I'm crabbed into the wind. The aircraft is nicely tracking the centre line of the runway, just about. Still, of course, I do still need some practice, but as I cross over the tree line, which tends to push you to the left, I learned that in the video, I start moving from crab into a wing low, and as I approach the displaced threshold of the runway, there we go. So the aircraft is now flying in the right direction and is pointing in the right direction with the wing low, as you can see, maintaining the centre line just about, easing off the power, landing, and I just had it out by a couple of degrees, so I managed to veer off just off the centre line by a couple of feet, minimal centerline deviation. But there we have it. That was my best attempt, so I thought I would add that. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and back to in video me in 3, 2, 1. That aircraft just parked around. No, it isn't. I was going to say, is that an aircraft parked on the taxiway? No, it isn't. So there we have it. I have no idea what is going on there, but I'm not going to question. I'm certainly not going to question. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to click the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on... Where does this taxiway go? Okay. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on Microsoft Flight Simulator and apparently that. Alright. Hopefully 2020 doesn't have these issues. Sorry, 2024. Yes. If you can do so, please do consider supporting me on Patreon. Link in the description box below, as are links to my social media and Discord server. That is all from me. I think I'm starting to get used to these rudders. As I said, I am concerned that I still need to do more with them, some more adjustments, because they are a little stiff, or it's just the fact that I do not play Flight Simulator enough, and that is why they are stiff. Whatever the reason is, I will try to continue to improve, and there will be another video soon with more, I'm hoping with more BAE 146, and hopefully it will not be too much of an issue. The landing will not be too much of an issue compared to last time. That is all from me, and I will see you next time in Microsoft Flight Simulator.